Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo 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 Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Which text is this? 23?
22.
22. Etavam eva loke asmin pumsam paraha smritaha bhakti yoga bhagavati tannama granadivi etavaniva lokesmin pumsam dharma parasmrita yogo bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama granadivi etavaniva lokesmin pumsam dharma parasmrita yogo bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama granadivi
Etavan eva lokesmin pumsam dharma parasmitaha bhakti yogo bhagavati nama grahanadivi
etavaniva lokesmin pumsam dharma parasmrita bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama granadivi etavan this much eva indeed lokeasmin in this material world pumsam of the living entities dharma the religious principles paraha transcendental smritaha recognized bhakti yoga or devotional service bhagavati to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not to the demigods. Tad, his nama of the holy name, Grahanadihi, beginning with chanting. Translation. Devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As stated in the previous verse, Dharma Bhagavatam, real religious principles are Bhagavata Dharma, the principles described in Srimad Bhagavatam itself or in the Bhagavad Gita, the preliminary study of the Bhagavatam. What are these principles? The Bhagavatam says, Dharma Prajitakaita Utra. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are no cheating religious systems. Everything in the Bhagavatam is directly connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhagavatam further says, Saipum Samvarodharmo Yatuvakir Adukshache. The Supreme Religion is that which teaches its followers how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the reach of experimental knowledge. Such a religious system begins with Tannama Grahana, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Svanam Pada Sevanam. After chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, one gradually sees the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, and the transcendental qualities of the Lord. This way one fully understands the situation of the personality of Godhead. One can come to this understanding of the Lord, how he descends into this material world, how he takes his birth, and what activities he performs. But one can know this only by executing devotional service. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Mama Vijanati, simply by devotional service one can understand everything about the Supreme Lord. If one fortunately understands the Supreme Lord in this way, the result is Tyaktvaraham Punarjanma Mahiti. After giving up his material body, he no longer has to take birth in this material world. Instead, he returns home back to Godhead. That is the ultimate perfection. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mam Petya Punarjanma Ukalayam Ashorashvagam Napnuvanti Mahatmanaha Samsiddhim Paramam Gataha. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Nam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devam Gurvam Prachani Nirvishesha Srinavadi Pashkati Visitani. Devotional service beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. So this is a nice shloka which can be easily read out as an introduction of Krishna consciousness. As Prabhupada said, by distributing these books in whatever edited form, even one line, one word being perceived by the conditioned soul can totally change its life and save it. So if you would just take from the whole Bhagavatam this one shloka and print it in a book, let's say 3 pages, one page is written on it, Srimad Bhagavatam, and then next page, read this shloka, and then third page, this shloka, that will be enough. That will be a perfect transcendental literature. Because just by reading this one shloka and one purport, one gets the whole sum and substance of Krishna consciousness. There is nothing more needed to be added and nothing more to be subtracted. It's all included here. Yamaraj is preaching to a very simple living entities called Yamatutas. Yamatutas were not of Brahmanical nature. So, this is our position. One should not throw the pearl for the swine. Unnecessary, there's even a heavy warning in Bhagavad Gita. One should not preach to the faithless ones. However, Prabhupada comments that Vaishnavas are so merciful. They go beyond this instruction of Krishna and they do approach highly unqualified ones to give them Krishna consciousness. But again, in whatever form. Therefore discrimination is required. Discrimination is the key word. It seems from outside, even from Srila Prabhupada's preaching, that he was distributing Krishna consciousness undiscriminately. No, he wasn't. He was giving everybody a chance undiscriminately. But then, the conducting of Krishna consciousness, that's what the first initiates found out. They found themselves being surrounded by rules and regulations, being surrounded by instructions. And ultimately, those who grab, the essence of the whole thing, that means following the spiritual master, they were striving. Those who picked from Bhagavatam here and there, picked from the scriptures here and there, and assembled their own version of Krishna consciousness, not only that actually they were not striving, but they became a disturbance. Prabhupada said, if somebody prematurely takes sannyas, he's a disturbance in a society. He's disturbing others because he's taking the right thing in the wrong way. And people are attracted to the right thing. But then they get the wrong way. And that creates disturbance. People are attracted to truth. Yes, people are attracted to truth. And they're afraid of truth too. But still I'm attracted. And as it's stated in the communistic statement from the Shastra, the truth will always be winning ultimately. The truth will prevail one way or another. But to get to the truth, it's a long struggle, because we are living in an ocean of lies. Lies, even Dharma Projita Kaidava, even religious lies. This is hard to understand for people who are pious. You mean I'm living a pious lie? Well, strictly spoken, from the vision of Srimad Bhagavatam, before one reaches the platform of absolute surrender to Krishna, one is a liar, pretender of some sort. Pious pretender or not pious pretender, one is a pretender. And pretender means somebody who is trying to be something he is not. This is what Arjuna tried to be, and that's where we get to Bhagavad Gita. As Prabhupada is the preliminary study to Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was the first problem Arjuna was encountering. Krishna didn't agree on his idea how to be nice. Actually, Prabhupada comments the ideas Arjuna had were nice. They were very Christian type. When they give you a slap on one cheek, hold the other cheek. Don't do any harm to anyone. Be nice. Let them be. If they want to get it, get it. I'm renounced. I'm not attached. For me, I will perceive my peace in seclusion. Yesterday we had a big talk about private life in Krishna consciousness, finding out that Prabhupada declared it non-existent. So, I will do it my way. I will not disturb you. You don't disturb me. I am fine. You are fine. You do your saying, I do my saying. Somehow it doesn't work really. You never see people sitting somewhere peacefully doing their thing. Even when yogis go to Himalaya and do their thing, they will still experience disturbance. Of some kind. They will still bring something of the material inclination with them. And we know, we have reports from highly elevated yogis meditating in seclusion, still trouble came. Indra got envious, and then some heavenly girl to drag that guy down. He was worried, this yogi is becoming so advanced. So people sent some heavenly girl to agitate him and pull him down. And there will be agitation of all kinds of things. The yogis said even their social life, meditating in a forest, they were visiting each other. And of course the level of disturbance was minimal. Sometimes even demons came and polluted the whole sacrificial arena. Sometimes the highly elevated devotees even get harassed, crucified, or whipped through marketplaces for that crime they have done just by chanting the holy name. This is the world we are living in. Somebody will be always on the case. There will be always a disturbance of some kind. And this is what Arjuna tried in an artificial way to avoid. So Krishna consciousness is not artificial. It's the most natural thing. So Krishna is starting preaching to Arjuna in a very pragmatic way. First of all, pointing out to Arjuna his duties. You have a duty here to do. You are Kshatriya. And duty asks no for your emotional state. You may like the duty, not like the duty. You may feel good about it or not. Do it. It's an order. So, I don't want to switch the whole thing to a Gita lecture entirely, but it's clearly defined in Bhagavad Gita. First of all, Krishna is introducing Arjuna to a very simple fact. If you don't work, you will not eat. Simple. Without work, this is a saying here. Check, they have a saying, without work, there are no cookies. So, it sounds like, that's really inspiring for the sugars. No, that's for everybody. There are different types of work, like Brahmanas are sometimes considered lazy. That was the fall down of communism, that they considered anybody who doesn't have a shovel or a sledgehammer in a hand is lazy. That means they declared, a total war on brain activity. No, just hammer, dig, and work hard. The man, the most elite class in a communist society was the coal miners. At least I know from Czech Republic. They were getting 5 times the salary of a university professor. They were the heroes. They had monuments in front of the coal mines, with a hammer in a hand, They were digging down there, and very often, it's very dangerous to access Earth on such a, depth. There's gas leaks. There's all kinds of things going on down there. So they exploded the coal mine. It was all finished, and then a heroic rescue squad, coal miners had a law of loyalty, When a comrade was down there, buried by coal, the others went down and dug him out and died too, or something like this. There's always something going on. Very heroic, coal miners. Professor, somebody talking somewhere. So, this is not what Krishna means. He means actually work of appropriate kind, and we have Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. So he writes, perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. That's it. But there should be also balance of maintenance and work. Like sometimes in the name of surrender, we demand from devotees to work, and we pacify them with the holy name, and then we say bye-bye. It's not Prabhupada's concept. He called it our man. He gave us the idea, like the coal miners, you don't let anybody down. When he gets buried by Maya, you go down and dig. You save him. This is actually the real thing. You don't let, and nobody is left behind. They have such a codes in the military. The Prabhupada writes, this is devastating. Absolutely devastating and surely upsetting to many, many people, especially in India, where you have a yogi and bhogi on every corner. Prabhupada even gives an example of a neighbor in Calcutta he had, who had a quite big family. And he, every morning dressed up as a sannyasi, went out and back, donations from the public, so the family has some income. In the evening he came and put his sannyas dress, in a cupboard, and then they had a good meal, So this was his occupation. There are many, many people in India doing this, collecting sometimes vast amounts of money. And just being in touch with the Indians in the last weeks, you get to hear how Indian media is full of these reports about very famous yogis and gurus being exposed, doing terrifying things, cheating public on such a scale in the name of spirituality, which is always in favor of the atheists, communists, or whatever, materialists. They always say, just leave, as if they would have no cheating going on. So there are many pseudo-meditators who misrepresent themselves as belonging to high parentage. Fortunately we don't have that problem in the West. There's no high parentage. Finished. So that problem is resolved in the West. They are all coming from a garbage can. A great professional man, that's already coming. That you find in most of these professional. Very professional. What can you do? Sure. I can do many things. I believe that, but are they useful? Useful is defined in Krishna consciousness, useful in the frame of Srila Prabhupada's mission. That's useful. Anything else is useless. So, who falsely pose that they have sacrificed everything for the sake of advancement in spiritual life. Well, that's, we can very easily find. I surrendered everything. What did you have to surrender? Nothing. That means you surrendered nothing. What did you surrender? Your debts? You hashish burned brain? What did you surrender? Well, I surrender myself, my body. Oh, you mean the drug-damaged body, which couldn't do anything hardly before you came to Krishna consciousness. That's what you surrender. Well, it's like somebody who donated you a car without engine, which is 20 years old. He surrendered his car to you. Yeah. Great gift. Thank you very much. So why did you surrender? Certainly, that surrender, that desire to surrender to Krishna, that is a sacrifice, but is it motivated or unmotivated, or how did you came to this to surrender? And suddenly you realize the number of devotees gets very, very small. It is very pleasant, like example, to deal with somewhat intelligent people. I speak just plain materially intelligent people who have material facilities and still surrender. It's very rare to be found. There are such a people, such a wonderful devotees who would have no problem to make a big, entrance into the material world, but they are tired. But Ambarish Prabhu is one of these I can quote. I met him several times. So very simple and rather tired devotee, tired of being surrounded by people with material ambitions who always want something from him. Because he is the grandson of Mr. Ford. Oh. When he arrives in the airport in Delhi, he can hardly go to the toilet. There's already cameras waiting for him. Mr. Ford came. Maybe a new business for India. It's terrible. And, to have so much funds, it's terrible because everybody wants something from you. Like there are people who are bidding from one day to another large amount of money in lottery, in gambling. Just fill up some paper with some number and then they suddenly found out one of the richest men almost in England. Their life became instantly miserable. One man, he owned a little shop where he was selling old CDs. And he liked that. He had his little shop and there had people coming to him and they were talking about music and la 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 la. That was his life. Simple sugar. And then he won from one day to another this unbelievable fortune. Therefore it's usually anonymous. It's not. But somehow in his name it became visible and known. Well, his shop was flooded with people who wanted something from him so much that he had to close it down, completely change his life and go underground. Completely ruined life. He had to hide. He had to live in hiding all the time. And then there are people who are just going, what? I have $15 million on my account. Well, let's spend it all. I think the record is 1 week. In Galatas. In 1 week he was penniless again. No brain whatsoever. Just spend it all. Yes, money is not funny. But when you leave, there is an existence minimum, a quota as defined in Ishopanishad. When you go beyond that, below that, life can also become so miserable that you have even hard time to sustain religious and to regular spiritual practice. So that's also what Krishna is not talking about. He goes, you have your quota that has to be maintained. I think it was Rupa Goswami, he gives a formula of surrender. 50% to Vaishnavas, 25% to relatives. Oh, relatives, demons. And 25% being stored for emergencies. Nobody preached this to us when we joined, isn't it? 100%! Everything! I know a family in Italy that are pretty established. He was a car driver in an embassy, had a good income. She was a teacher. They had a daughter. It's not happening today anymore. He can tell you what went wrong. So he came and was confronted with a Sonacharya and First instruction he got, surrender everything to the Guru. Everything. So he sold his house, sold his car, everything sold out, and the money being carefully placed on the table of the Guru. And then what shall I do? Well, you move into the Brahmacharya ashram. She moved into the Brahmacharya ashram. And the child moved into the Gurukula, 5 years old girl. With allowance to see the child 10 minutes at the breakfast time. The rest of the time, full blast service. Which meant sometimes rehearsing. Doing things which we don't do today. The result of this, by the age of 22, the daughter absolutely revolting against Krishna consciousness, the parents being traumatized, the Zonacharya gone. Fortunately, Krishna is always there. So because they were nice devotees, they found a way to continue the service under the protection of VBT, which was like the last remaining refuge. This is stories to be told. There are so many. So this is what Krishna doesn't approve. He doesn't approve the unlimited usage of people. He doesn't approve that. There's an obligation both sides. And Krishna is ready to be obliged. He's amazing. He's God and he feels obliged. Prabhupada felt obliged. I can play you a Vyasa Puja lecture from one of his Vyasa Puja lectures, which is heartbreaking. Which Prabhupada turns not into his own glorification, but into a manifesto of gratitude towards his disciples. It's unbelievable how grateful Prabhupada was. Never forgot any little service being done by anybody. He had a memory, it was unbelievable. Never forgot, even the devotee got tempered by Maya and left again and did who knows what. Whenever he appeared on the scene again, Prabhupada said, "Oh, very nice, you came." And he immediately remembered what a service he did that devotee for him. Especially in the initial days where there was no temptation for entering some big ISKCON and making some sort of career. Because there was no very much of an ISKCON. It was just a bunch of hippies. You didn't get anything out of it except surrender. That's the beauty of the early days. There was nothing to really strive for, materially spoken. There was hardly any facilities. There was nothing. There was just some prasadam and lots of service. So Prabhupada is strongly opposing those who perceive spiritual life as a source of material maintenance. Rather, the Lord desired that Arjuna perform his prescribed duties as set forth for Kshatriyas. Arjuna was a householder and a military general, and therefore it was better for him to remain as such and perform his religious duties as prescribed for the householder Kshatriya. That is taken sometimes as the inspiration of not joining the Krishna consciousness. When in a certain stage of your life and you are not a general, and you are not a Kshatriya, and you don't have any other duties as to hang out and smoke hashish, then but you have Krishna consciousness unconditionally. Sure. But there are people who are in situations where, where they are loaded with duties, you could call it material duties. And Prabhupada is very encouraging. He says, no, you keep on going, but follow your duties as prescribed for the household. This speaks plainly about household, not Sannyasi and not Brahmacharya. Such activities gradually cleanse the heart of a mundane man and free him from material contamination. So Krishna consciousness is not freedom of duty and freedom of authority. Because in the material world, you have these two things serve to you instantly.